Ladies and gents, welcome to CG Reacts, and this is 5 reasons you shouldn't mess with USA. Yeah, F word is not allowed. Yeah. Only 5, I'm pretty sure there are way many reasons than 5, but okay. Look, if you don't know by now that US is way too OP when it comes to military power, either you're lying to yourself or you're in blind, because USA is way too powerful. I think most people know that. I mean, US has been spending more money into the military than next 15 countries combined. I mean, that sentence is terrifying itself. It's like, you're building your character in a video game, and after a certain level you became so OP and you're still becoming more and more OP. Like, you're just competing with yourself now. So yeah, US is massively powerful. So that's what this one. Remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe, check out the reaction, there's a link in the description, check out the cards or plays, check out the end cards, and yeah, let's watch it.
The collapse of the Soviet Union in the early 90s left the United States as the sole superpower in the world, and it's never looked back. In all aspects of the world, the United States is indeed a superpower, especially when it comes to its military might, which is unsurpassable in its strength, technological superiority, operational capabilities, and power projection across the globe. In this video,
yeah, superpower not just because of the military, because of their political influence. If they don't have some country under them, they have many country under them that they influence them. It's not officially under USA, then it doesn't matter. They still influence them in a way they might as well be under USA. That's how political structure is. So they are really powerful. Their branches out in lots of different countries and islands.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the 5 top reasons why you wouldn't want to go against the US military establishment. The United States Air Force is the strongest in the world, not only in the number of operational aircraft, but also in technological superiority. The country currently operates a total of over 15,000 military aircraft, combining all the branches of the military service, including the US Navy, US Army, Coast Guard, and the US Marines. As of 2017, the US Air Force alone has a fleet of over 5,300 aircraft, 406 intercontinental ballistic missiles, and 170 military satellites, greater than any other country in the world. The USA has the largest number of stealth aircraft designed to be silent killers and untrackable by the radar defense systems of most countries in the world. Some of these stealth aircraft include air superiority fighters such as the F-22 Raptor and the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, heavy bombers such as the B-2 Spirit. In fact, the United States pioneered this technology in the 1980s.
Yeah, okay. I thought B-2 bombers were discontinued, right? So see, here's the thing. When B-2 bombers were a big thing, like new thing, people didn't know what they are, right? It became widespread after a few years. That's the point of they are a kind of spy type of plane, right? Stealth bombers. You're not supposed to tell an entire world about it. So now, lots of the spy planes that we know of are discontinued. But what other planes are in their place? I guess the world doesn't even know it. Why? Because they are even more ridiculously technology-powered planes that they don't want world to know right now, because they are spy planes, stealth plane. You don't tell the world right now. So I guess we'll learn in a few years or decades that which plane was in operation that they will discontinue then. But right now they are ridiculously powerful with technology. And US Air Force is way too big. Not just by numbers, right? By their effect. I mean, there are lots of things that even NASA uses, the US Air Force does, right? The Trump said about, Space Force, and everybody just laughed at him. But Space Force is already part of US Air Force, US Space Command. They already do the space missions. I was saying in lots of previous videos that Hubble telescope was not NASA's first invention. No, Hubble telescope was existed before, but it pointed down to spy on people. It was part of US Air Force. So US Air Force has done ridiculous feat. So it's not just because of how many numbers of plane and technology they have. No, it's because their effect is really widespread and they do things that you can't even think of. So US Air Force is really powerful.
With the introduction of the F-117 Nighthawk stealth attack aircraft. Stealth aircraft are designed to avoid detection using a variety of technologies that reduce radar reflection from ground, sea, or air-based radar antennas, thereby reducing its radar cross-section, or RCS. This revolutionary technology allows a fifth-generation aircraft, such as the F-22 Raptor, with a max takeoff weight of 83,500 pounds, to have a radar cross-section.
Yeah, radar, stealth planes are not that hard to do now. It was hard once, but now it's not that hard. There are lots of technology, like, you could create a structure with micro, zigzag type of patterns that if a signal hits it, it bounces somewhere else. It doesn't go back to the source. So you never know if there's a plane coming in the radar. So I guess they're using that. Even though, B-2 bomber, I think original B-2 bomber had the, really hard zigzag that you can see. Nowadays, it's, the material is made in a way that you can't even see that zigzag shapes. But they are micro, so, the signal don't bounce off.
Of just 0.0001 meters squared, about the size of a bumblebee. What's more insane is that the massive B-2 bomber also has the same radar cross-section as the F-22 Raptor. Thus, it becomes extremely difficult to track stealth aircraft. Even if the enemy spots them on their radar scopes, it's a whole other story to successfully track them and register a missile kill. The whole idea behind this technology is to break the chain in which a conventional surface-to-air missile defense system works. It's the same reason countries like China and Russia are also hard at developing their own stealth fighter, the Chengdu J-20 and the Sukhoi Su-57, respectively. These aircraft will allow the US Air Force to assert its air superiority over any battlefield of the future. And we all know that control of these skies is the biggest decider in any war.
Yeah, that's
the next reason why any country going to war with the US military should think twice is because of the strength of the US Navy and its dominance over the world's ocean, especially the Navy's supercarriers. The US Navy currently operates 11 nuclear-powered Nimitz-class supercarriers, which is the largest aircraft carrier fleet in the world. The only Navy that can come close in terms of technological advancement is probably the Royal Navy of the United Kingdom, but they only have 2 operational carriers.
See, that's the thing. United Kingdom's Royal Navy has been powerhouse for centuries, right? Centuries and centuries. That was their thing. US being number one, not just number one, but being number one by a massive, range, just tells you how, far and ahead US went in all military sectors. Because, UK being, second is not that surprising. UK has always been, in Navy, they always has been that dominant. But US being that far ahead is just ridiculously powerful.
The Nimitz class of carriers has a displacement of over 100,000 tons and can carry a complement of up to 70 aircraft. They're literally a floating small town in the ocean with its own airport. The Nimitz class carriers in themselves are
Who's more powerful, the US Air Force in the air, planes department, US Navy. First one is US Air Force, second one is US Navy when it comes to the air superiority. Look at that.
Extremely potent offensive weapons, but the way they operate in what is called the carrier strike groups makes these ships even more deadly. A carrier seldom deploys alone. There are always a fleet of surface and underwater assets surrounding them and forming a strike group. These include guided missile cruisers, a destroyer squadron, attack submarines, and other support vessels. Together, they project the power of the carrier and at the center of the group forward towards the enemy. While the carrier is carrying out its offensive role with the use of its air wing, the other ships are responsible to protect its flanks against any enemy attack. This combination of offensive and defensive strategy makes the US carrier strike group almost impenetrable. The United States Navy maintains 9 such carrier strike groups, 8 of which are based in the United States and 1 that's forward deployed to Japan. For over 50 years, this has been the principal element of US power protection, and the Nimitz class of supercarriers are at the center of it all. Despite this, the US is currently in the process of developing a new class of carriers called the Gerald R. Ford class, intended to replace the Nimitz class ships. This new supercarrier will be even more technologically advanced and is expected to continue US dominance.
Sir, we have ridiculously powerful Nimitz carriers. What should we do next? Let's make even more powerful one.
Dominance of the oceans well into the late 21st century. The third reason why you shouldn't fight the US military is their massive stockpile of nuclear and conventional intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs. The ICBM plays the role of the land leg in the US nuclear triad, along with the Trident submarine-launched ballistic missile SLBM and nuclear warheads carried on long-range strategic bombers. ICBMs are launched from ground-based missile silos, achieving high suborbital spaceflight, approximately 1,000 miles above the surface of the Earth. The body of the missile then separates from the warhead, which re-enters the atmosphere and free falls to the assigned target at hypersonic speeds. The US military currently operates 400 ICBMs from its base in Wyoming.
I don't remember exactly, but one scientist was saying that intercontinental ballistic missiles are already going at supersonic speeds. When you are at that, that high speeds, like somewhat 12,000 kilometers per hour or something like that, and you hit down like that, the energy that gets transferred just by the speed of it is way powerful that you don't need a nuke, right? So this missile firing like that, like how there are meteors fall down, right? In the moon, meteors fall down at an angle, yet all the circles are round, all the craters are round. Why is that? Because the energy is so powerful that doesn't matter which direction the meteors come from. As soon as it hits, it creates a massive explosion. So intercontinental ballistic missiles does the same thing. It doesn't need a nuke, but with the nuke, it's even more powerful.
Montana and North Dakota. The LGM-30G Minuteman III is the only type of ICBM that is currently operational in the US. The Minuteman III family of ICBMs were first developed in the 1960s as a response to the Soviet nuclear threat. Throughout the Cold War and beyond, these missiles have undergone constant modernization. In the last decade alone, the US military has undertaken $7 billion worth of upgrades. The rocket propulsion engines, the propellants used, the guidance system, and even the flight control surfaces have all been refurbished. The upgraded missiles are completely different from its 1960s counterparts, except for the shell. These state-of-the-art improvements and modernization programs have kept the Minuteman III system operational for over 50 years with improved reliability that supports the missile's remarkable 99% alert rate. The latest versions of the missiles have a range of over 8,000 miles.
Yeah, Minuteman. Look at that. The name is appropriate too. Preston Garvey's message. Here's a place I need to clear. Launch the missile.
Greater than the diameter of the Earth at 7,917.5 miles. They can carry multiple 330 kiloton nuclear warheads, which is 20 times greater than the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Not only that, each of these warheads can be assigned to different targets independently. The technology is called Multiple Independently Targetable Re-Entry Vehicle, or MIRV, and was first developed for the Minuteman III family of missiles. So any country messing with the United States will have to deal with this awesome arsenal of firepower, which can be launched at a moment's notice. If it weren't the ICBMs or the stealth fighters raining fire down on you, it would be precision-guided munitions, or better known as smart bombs or PGMs instead. This is another big reason why not messing with the US military is a good idea. All branches of the US military use smart bombs in some forms or the other. These weapon systems are designed to be precise and hit a specific target with maximum efficiency. These bombs are so effective that during the First Gulf War, PGMs comprised only 9% of weapons fired, but accounted for 75% of all successful hits.
Whoa!
Since then, for the US military at least, the days of normal artillery shells and unguided bombs are long gone.
Yeah,
nowadays, the military
I don't think that's just US a thing. Most major countries are not going to use that old technology once. They are going to use this, but yeah.
uses PGMs from air, ground, and sea. Precision-guided munitions come in various forms and use different kinds of technologies to achieve precise hits. A large majority of PGMs use the Global Positioning System, or GPS, of satellites to guide their trajectory to target. However, sometimes this becomes a problem, as GPS coverage is not always reliably available everywhere across the globe, or bad weather conditions can hinder operations. Thus, the Office of Naval Research, the Naval Surface Warfare Center, and the Army Research Laboratory have all coordinated to develop the first ever artillery-fired smart munition that will not use GPS guidance. The project is known as Moving Target Artillery Round, or MTAR for short. The MTAR shell can be guided onto stationary as well as moving targets in both land and sea, using a combination of guidance technology. The best part is that these shells can be...
I mean, I think USA has enough geosynchronized satellites on there, which basically locks onto the ground wherever they are, geosynchronous. I think they have enough of that in the all the way up there. So I think they can target it easily. They don't need a satellite to be in specific place. Most of the place they have a geosynchronous satellite there. I don't know.
Fired from the existing M777A2 155mm towed howitzer and the M109A7 Paladin integrated management self-propelled 155mm artillery systems already in use by the US military. The shells will also feature an extended range of 40 to 60 miles using rocket boosters to propel them. Once finished, it will afford the US military another potent weapon system that outclasses others around the world. Lastly, the fifth and final reason why you shouldn't fight the US military is drones. We're all familiar with what an unmanned aerial vehicle or drone is and what it's supposed to do. But in recent years, the usability of UAVs are steadily increasing to encompass all spheres of military operations, and the US military is the pioneering spirit behind
Especially
it.
in the Middle East.
At first, used only for surveillance missions, drones were quickly weaponized after the 9/11 attacks and have been extensively used by the US military in the war against terror as an offensive weapon platform. It's forecasted that over the next decades, the US is in line to purchase over 1,000 combat drones of various classifications. Some of them, like the Lockheed Martin RQ-170 Sentinel and the Boeing MQ-25 Stingray, are already in the final stages of development, and once finished, will provide the US military with state-of-the-art platforms.
Yeah. This is all great and things, but more and more technology buying more 1,000, the drones like that, Lockheed and Martin, Boeing. I feel like these companies are just getting rich, and there was, I don't know which was it, a documentary or something that was just saying that even military is saying that we don't need all this equipment, but it's good for the jobs. So senators are basically signing off all this budget. Basically, Lockheed and Boeing, these major companies, military equipment companies, have some senators under them, let's just say. And they keep signing off these, frivolous purchases that they don't need. Even military is saying, we don't need this. Don't purchase it. But they're like, oh, it's good for the jobs. What the hell does that mean?
Capable of multi-role operations, ranging from attack missions to aerial refueling. Drone technology has reached such heights today that a single UAV can loiter miles above the surface of the Earth for hours, waiting for the target to show its head and sticking with impunity. This capability will allow all the services under the US military to reduce its dependency on manned platforms, thereby reducing the risks during future combat operations. These 5 weapon systems make the US military extremely dangerous for any adversary looking to get into a conflict with them. In a conventional warfare setting, it's almost impossible to beat the US military machine. That's why modern enemies of the United States are employing more and more asymmetric warfare strategies against the mighty US military. Despite that, the US military juggernaut is hands down the most powerful military complex in the world today, and probably will be for decades to come. That's all we have for you today, folks. Thanks for sticking around.
Yeah, this is just way too OP technologies. They are trying to make sure that it's more, automated, less manpower. But if an AI becomes radical and goes out of hand, this is going to be heaven for the AI and really bad news for all of us. But yeah, there you go. All the great technologies and God knows what kind of technologies they're going to use in the future. USA is way too powerful. I mean, it's not like competing thing, right? The next powerful country, even next powerful country than that, if you combine all of their powers, still doesn't come close to USA. So yeah. Right, that was 5 reasons you shouldn't bet. This is the most American title of that all, right? 5 reasons you shouldn't mess with the America. Yeah. Right, people, if you like my Rickson, like and subscribe, check out the Rick Sunday. There's a link in the description. Check out the Cosmo Place, check out the Encards, and I'll see you next time.